All right, folks, welcome to a Future of the Fortress update. It has been a long time, and I kind of just glanced through the questions as normal. I read them all. I left out, there's a lot of stuff about necromancers and all the new uh, features that kind of deal with all the night creatures and stuff like that. That's not something that's particularly interesting to me. I don't really follow it all that closely. So if you're interested in that stuff, including multiple questions from our very own Untrusted Life, there's a link in the description where you can read. Just go straight to the Future of the Fortress. It really wasn't that long this time around. So I only picked out a few of what I thought were pretty interesting about the new Steam version that's coming out, what OSs it's going to be on, what kind of development timetable is, when he's going to be working on what stuff. I think that's kind of the most interesting stuff that appeals to generally everybody who's interested in Dwarf Fortress. And I'm just going to start, actually. There was a January 2020 update, 1/1/2020, where he, before the new version was released, but where he was talking about how it was coming up pretty soon. So I'm just going to read this out. It's only a snippet of it. Again, there's links to this stuff in the description if you want to read it for yourself. So Toady says, for bug fixing and stabilization, we're going to do some initial work after the villain release happens. There are plenty of serious issues on the tracker. The villain release will doubtless have issues, and we can afford to do some of them now. We like the new version to be playable, and the Steam itch version will need those bugs fixed anyways. Good stuff. However, we also need to get the graphical code rolling so the artist can work more easily, and this needs to happen soon. Therefore, the plan is to spend some time with the worst bugs at first, and then as the Steam work progresses, we'll do additional stabilization releases on the existing branch as well. So we do have the initial villain release. I'm just kind of cutting away, talking myself here now. So now that that is done, the people who are going to be working on the graphics that's going to be part of the focus before he gets deeper into the villain stuff. But before that, there still will be bug fixes. But it's looking like Steam is going to start to become the priority after the real quick bug fixes from the new version. Okay, where do we leave off? It's hard to say what the frequency of these fixer-up releases will be before starting in on the graphical work, but the goal is not to sit on anything nasty like the old weapon trap crash or the existing military equipment raid crash for extended periods of time anymore. This also includes the stress issues that we've been collecting over at the stress thread and other related issues like socialization problems. They need to be fixed for the Steam itch release, and it would be nice to fix them sooner, but the Steam itch work must begin. So as you guys know, if you've followed any of my stuff, especially my last Fortress, the stress spiral is just, it's unplayable, at least in my experience with that one fort. There's nothing you can do. Eventually they will get stressed out because they never find ways to calm themselves down. In the new version that just released, apparently priests within your fortress can fulfill a role where they help alleviate people's stress. But it sounds like, since that main fix isn't in there yet, the base issue is still there, that that's probably going to be a band-aid at best. All right, let's go back. This was the other paragraph that I quoted him from on his development update. Thus, some feature delays. We have delayed things before, Tavern Games, Caravan Arc, Army Arc, but this is a bit different, hopefully a unique event for us, which seems likely given the situation. A few things we definitely thought we'd make it to are going to have to wait until after the Steam Edge release, sometimes just on account of testing time. I should emphasize that these are being moved to just after the graphical release and before the big wait. And the big wait is where they're doing the army adventure mode, medical, etc. improvements, not to tavern game limbo. Not sure what that means. We should get to everything over several shorter releases before the map rewrite and the Myth Magic stuff takes us back to at least one extended cycle, as there's no other way to do the map rewrite. Those stabilization releases can happen even then. So, again, like I was saying just a little bit earlier, it looks like we're going to see some bug fixes for the new version that just released, get into the big stuff, and then the Steam release is going to become the priority. And then we'll see more stuff after that. but there will be more stuff after Steam and before the big wait for some of the really huge stuff. The Myth Magic stuff is huge. He's been talking about it for a long time. You can see that in some of my previous videos. Same thing with the map rewrite, so that you can have boats and stuff that moves on the map. That's obviously going to take forever. So, all right, let's get to some of the future of the Fortress stuff for now. These are just the ones that I picked out, as I said before. Dark Hog says, with the graphics mode for Steam version, will you make changing tile sets easier so you won't have to basically update all the save games as well so they use correct tiles? And Tony just quoted Patrick Lundale's response of, as far as I understand, the graphics rework will move the tile dependencies from the saves to a common place. This is more or less necessary since a commercial save would otherwise be incompatible with a classic save, or would sort of violate the commercial conditions by moving the commercial tile set to the classic player's game. Makes sense. I think it's great that they're going to be looking into changing the whole tile set / modding thing, and it obviously has to be done to integrate Steam Workshop anyways. So I like the idea that saves, hopefully, it sounds like, will be compatible between the Steam version and the classic version if people continue on with that. Obviously, I'm going to buy it on Steam, but I will probably also be playing the classic version because I'm just assuming, I could be wrong here, but I'm assuming that we're going to get any update is like I'm assuming we'll get incremental updates on the classic version, and Steam will be more like a long-term updates if you're familiar with, long-term service kind of versions of Linux or whatever. I don't know. That's just a guess on my part. I could see that playing out that way. It could be the other way around. Maybe Steam will get everything first. Who knows? All right, we got a quote from. I have no idea. They're a Hedwig. There you go. That's probably it. Are werebeasts also among the teleporting mega beasts, or do they actually path the world like visitors do? This is something of interest to me ever since, again, my last fortress got destroyed by werebeasts, and I was noticing that every time I started a fortress, a werebeast would just come by at some point, usually near the beginning. So Toady says, yeah, they work like mega beasts without an army, at least on the way in. They may have to find their way back to their cave or whatever on foot, so they do teleport, which, kind of seemed that way. It didn't seem like they just stumbled across my fortress. It was almost like it was scripted. I'm not sure how this will work, Toady says, with them in the future in particular. I doubt they last the journey transformed since it usually takes a few days. They should probably be rethought generally, though having them come as regular migrants when not transformed is quite cruel. I highly agree with that. Yeah, if you just have a migrant come in and then a couple weeks later suddenly everybody in your fort is werebeasts because you had no idea, that would not be fun. I mean, it would certainly be capital fun, but it'd be more capital fun than most people are usually looking for in Dwarf Fortress. And as I've said previously, I just turn werebeasts and vampires and stuff off now because I'm not interested in that aspect of the game. I love how you can make it the way you want. I want something that's more traditional. I don't know, more traditional in Dwarf Fortress seems kind of weird, but, less of the magic-y kind of stuff and more of your classic fantasy stuff. Okay, quote from Pilbo. As far as the graphical release is concerned, you've mentioned that initially there will be no Mac version. Does that mean the Mac version will be put on semi-permanent hold, or will there be an effort to hit the 3 OS versions in some subsequent release pre the big wait? So Toady says, in terms of the Steam release, yeah, I do not personally have the experience to sell a Mac or Linux product. If I can't easily get the build working and I can't marshal the expertise in whatever way, then it won't come to those platforms, whether that's eventually paying somebody to help or however it'll work. I can't afford it now, and I don't feel comfortable asking for volunteers in this context. And I doubt my ability to put together a properly bundled OS X app that works on whatever version is the latest and to keep it working through future depreciations. And he's talking about all the new the changes to the Mac OS and how it's killed a lot of games. And why am I butting in here? Because he talks about it right now. Additionally, I haven't been closely following where the current notarization issues are at, and that might be prohibitive as a separate matter depending on exactly what's going on. I know some of my peers decide to leave the platform, but their situation might be different. Others have struggled through it. I'm all for getting it worked out, but it need to be a solution that sticks. and which I can maintain more reliable. So this makes perfect sense. I mean, Dwarf Fortress has been developed for, oh gosh, what is it now? Probably close to 15 years. The playable version might have been out 15 years ago. And he's worked through the code, and he's going to have to do a lot of code changes to work in the magic and the map rewrite and stuff. But yeah, the idea of then going from a traditional Windows development and trying to develop your own Mac or Linux version, especially when there's just so much to keep track of as it is, it's constantly work in progress. I completely understand why there wouldn't be a Mac or Linux product. I would love to see a Linux version of Dwarf Fortress, but especially with the Mac and what Apple's doing right now, that's making it difficult on developers. I can see why he wouldn't be doing this, but it does seem like he's kind of open to maybe having people help with that. He's talked in the past about not really wanting to open his code base up and let people, mess around with it and look at it. And he did mention that, I think, a bit in that response as well. It might have been another paragraph that I omitted by accident, or it could have been a different question entirely. So I think you're going to have to be looking at Windows for a while now. I'd be surprised if Dwarf Fortress didn't work in Wine or something. All right, and the last one that I am covering for today is, or for this month, is from Eric Blank, who says, probably already been asked or answered, but when you return to it later, do you intend to add angry mobs to go after corrupt officials? Will we then be able to tell people about the corruption and incite them to do something about it? Most random NPC residents don't even care about invaders conquering their site enough to participate in an insurrection now, in adventure mode at least. How, if at all, has that changed? So this one just kind of stood out to me because, yeah, I tried messing around with, claiming sites and talking about invaders and all this stuff previously in probably much further back versions, and it just never really seemed to do anything. So Toady says, yeah, the adventure mode insurrection mechanic has been heavily undernourished, and nothing has changed currently. Investigations were going to involve some sort of interaction with non-corrupt officials, if only to provide some muscle to help you out. But it would also make sense to tie in insurrection stuff, especially in cases where there are few non-corrupt people left. I will note to keep the poor, ignored insurrections in mind. Sorry, you can't see that at all because my window was way too big. There we go. So yeah, honestly, I think personally that all the stuff that's going to be added later on in this arc of the villain release is really going to help with this. In fact, the kind of old school interaction stuff, I assume personally, that it's not going to look very similar to what it used to be. But we'll have to wait and see on that. So that's kind of, again, this is just what jumped out at me. There's a link in the description if you want to see all the other questions and answers, especially about all the necromancer garbage that I don't care about. But this has given us a decent idea of, now we got a new version. Here's where it's going to go. I think it's actually pretty exciting that the Steam version sounds like it's kind of imminent. Obviously I've been burned many times before when I've tried to take a guess at when we're going to see a release of some sort. But it does sound like we're going to get some quick bug fixes. Then we're going to get, and during this time, the graphics people who are on the forum too. I think it's, who was it? Meph and, I'm sorry, I can't remember the other guy's name. Because that one part of the forum I do hang out in occasionally, or at least I check. I don't ever post anything. Is the Tileset and graphics stuff. So he drew from the community for that. Oh, Mayday, Meph and Mayday. And those are two tile sets that I have used in the past, and I think they are kind of the most commercially viable in the way they look. And if you go to that forum, and I can put a link in the description to that as well, you can see what some of the graphics are. They're posting stuff for some of the creatures and all that kind of stuff. You can just look through the thread and get an idea of what the Steam version is likely going to look like. But I think that's great. I think we're going to see a Steam version maybe sometime this year. And if nothing else, we'll have some bug fixes before that, and then we'll have some more villain stuff during/after that. And then there'll be the big wait. But I kind of like the big weights just because everything gets kind of stable-ish. Unfortunately, the last one I guess wasn't for Fortress mode for me with the stress stuff, but it does get kind of stable-ish. And people develop more mods and graphic sets, and tile sets, and stuff for it. And it'll be really interesting to see what pops up on the Steam Workshop too, I think. So I'm gonna stop rambling on. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm gonna try to do better with the development updates and the future of the Fortress stuff, but don't hold me to that. I got a lot of stuff going on in real life too. So anyways, let me know what you think about some of this stuff. If you did find something in the future of the Fortress reply or any of the dev update stuff that you thought was particularly interesting, go throw it in the comments for anyone else watching the video, and bring it to my attention as well, because I just kind of skim through stuff. As soon as I see, zombies or necromancers, I pretty much just jump down to the next question. All right, thanks for watching, folks. See you all in the next video. Bye-bye.